Hey everybody, all you fourth graders across Copper's Cove, welcome to Reading Language Arts. Today's lesson is lesson number 2 in our Return to Poetry. Today, you see it right there in front of you, we're talking about free verse poems. Alright, you know what's next, you know the deal, y'all are hipping with it. We're going to scoot on over to some learning goals and success criteria, and then really jump into some vocabulary, followed by some examples, and really kind of grab hold of this lesson and what it's all about today. So let's head on over to those goals. Our learning goal today is quite simply that we are learning to recognize and understand characteristics of a free verse poem. Okay. Along the way, you can check your success by hitting these I can statements like I can define poem, just like we could yesterday. I can recognize the rhythm of a poem, pretty key. And I can determine if a poem includes rhyme. I think if you hit those three signposts today, I think you'll be right on track to achieve your goal. Right? Let's move on to some vocabulary, and then we'll dive into the meat of our lesson. Oh yeah. One definition we're very interested in remembering this lesson is our definition of poem. Remember, a poem is a piece of writing that is created in an interesting way to express a feeling, create a mental picture, tell a story, or make a sound. Okay, it's very, very important that we kind of really nail down this definition of what a poem is, so that way we can really explore the different types of poems. All right. With that out of the way, let's dive in to an example, really tear apart what a free verse poem is. So let's look at an example, okay, and let's really kind of try to discover together what a free verse poem might be, okay? So our first example comes from Stories to Tell by Meet Denitra Brown. Okay, there on the screen it says Stories to Tell. Denitra says she's going to win the Nobel Prize. And I can tell by looking her eyes how much she means it. I see her writing rhymes and stories in a book. She slips a page to me and lets me look, like it's our secret. She writes about our friends, our neighborhood, and me, the places that we'll go and what we'll be when we grow up. Some teachers say Denitra's rhymes are wrong because some of her lines are extra long. I think they are perfect. If Denitra says she's going to win the Nobel Prize, I double dare anyone to roll his eyes. I know she'll do it. All right, so how is this poem different from other poems we've read? Right? Think back to yesterday, or think back to a couple of weeks ago, way before Christmas, we read poetry. In our read alouds, we've been doing some of the same things. So how is this poem different from other poems that we've read? I see that it lacks rhythm, but it tells a story. And I bet some of you are like, whoa, 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 hold up, Mr. Remedies. I noticed something else about this poem here. It lacks rhythm, but tells a story, but boom, it looks like a couple of those lines rhyme. Okay? And that's okay. That's okay. You guys have clearly got a good eye for good writing. Some of the lines in this poem do rhyme, but overall, there's not really a rhythm to the poem, but it does tell a story. Right? So let's move on and let's see something else, and let's look at another example. Okay. Our example number 2 comes from Where to Start, right? From Stitching and Pulling, right? Where to start. Today, Grandma winked at me. There is a promise in her smile. It is your time, she says, to piece your quilt. How did you begin your first quilt? I ask Mama. She's getting ready for work and the long drive over to Camden. Look for the heart. She pulls me close. When you find the heart, your work will leap to life. Strong, beautiful, and independent. So in this poem, what are you guys noticing? I really want you to tear this one apart. This is a very beautiful poem. Did you notice there's rhyme? Rhyme? Do you guys notice any rhyming in there? No, sir. Not in this one. There is not any sense of rhyme at all throughout this poem. Not one single. There are no lines that rhyme. Right? How about a little bit of rhythm? Yeah, I think you guys are well aware that poems should have rhythm. You guys point out the rhythm in this poem here? Did you? No? Really? Of course you didn't, because there's no real rhythm, all right? There's not really a song-like quality to this poem, all right? A fantastic poem really sends a beautiful message about really the idea behind creating a piece of art or a craft or something that has some sentimental value to us. But as far as craft of being a poem, there is no rhyme and there is no rhythm. But it's still a poem. It's still a poem. So I bet we can use this information to nail down some characteristics of a free verse poem. So what does a free verse poem look like? It looks very free. Okay, it is a free verse poem because it might have some rhyming in it, and we saw that in our first poem from Meet Denitra Brown. There is no specific rhythm or beat, and we saw that in our second poem. It might tell a story, right, which both of our poems did. It might have some dialogue, like where to start, and it might have repetition, right? All those things, it might have some of those, it might have this, but there's no specific rhythm, okay? And there might be some rhyming. This lack of specific characteristics is what makes it a free verse poem. Okay? So let's really hammer out a great solid definition of free verse poem. Right? A free verse poem is, wait for it now, a poem that does not have to rhyme or have any rhythm. Right? It is called a free verse poem because it does not have very many rules to it. It is free to do what it wants. It's the poet is free to really create the work that they want in a way they see fit. Okay? It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have a rhythm. Okay? And based on what you guys probably know about poetry, I bet I just blew your mind. Because I know I just blew Bill Nye's mind, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Whoa. Poems don't have to rhyme, and poems don't have to have rhythm. Whoa, what a revelation. Mind blown. All right, so as a review, guys, right, remember, not all poems are written in the same way, okay? And that's the beauty of poetry, okay? Some poems are written in what we call free verse, and free verse poems do not have rhythm, but might have some rhyming, okay? Man, I just can't express how excited I am that we're back into poetry. Okay? Free verse poems, they are such a joy to dive into and so much fun to read. They really get us right in the feels, as some people say. And so they're really awesome. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I hope you get something out of it. And today, during your independent reading time, I hope you check out a free verse poem or any kind of poem because they're amazing. Much like you are amazing as well. So, I've been Mr. Remedies. You've been awesome all across Copper's Cove, and we will see you next time. Adios.